Okay, so we seriously have to talk about March 7th, or I guess I should say Evernight, because she is by far the biggest enigma in Amphoreus and the main story right now. In this video, I want to break down what they've given us, some Easter eggs and hints they've given us, and try to come up with some ideas on what they're going to do with this character. All of you already know that Amphoreus is entangled with 3 eons. In 3.4, it focused on the destruction, fine on his journey, and in the latest story in 3.5, it focused on erudition, news, and Lygus' story and identity being Xandar 1 Kuwabara. But in 3.6, building up Evernight, and with Xandar's very cryptic line at the end of the quest, it is clear that 3.6 is going to focus on the remembrance. So let's break it all down and let's start with what we know and build from there. There seems to be a lot of confusion whether March 7th is physically in Amphoreus. She is not. Her body is encased in ice still on the Astral Express. Very similar to Penacony, where they go into the bath and then enter the dreamscape. And she quite literally at the end of the quest states that she is in fact March, but not the one that we know. She states this multiple times in fact in this quest. Dong Hung stating, "I'll only warn you once, leave her body now." How impulsive. Why don't you calm down and think about another possibility? I didn't take over March's body, but rather, she regained my memories. Not gained, but regained, and she knows them on a personal level. She even recaps some of our memories. She never distinguishes herself from March individually, and she emphasizes on her saying regained, but not gained Evernight's memories or anything like that. So at least we can distinguish the fact that Evernight is March 7th that had a set of memories before we met her. And now that she has her memories plus the ones she made with us, she's able to recognize those memories but also understands that she's no longer the March that we know. It would be like if you regained 50 years of lost memory of life you lived. In that exact moment you regained all that memory, it would change you on a dime. Your personality, your temperament, everything about you would change instantly. And it's no different for March. Xandar states that this is a war between 3 eons, not an entanglement. Hypothetically speaking, there should only be one left standing when this is all said and done, fully of remembrance, just like erudition and destruction intends on winning. The Children of Remembrance have taken this opportunity to join the fray. Children of Remembrance. And see, now this is where the whole thing gets crazy. It is pretty obvious the devs are trying to mislead us a little bit, but giving very obvious clues to the Enigmata, Mythus. Besides the fact that Mythus was born from the remembrance, what did Xandar say again? Children of Remembrance? But Mythus takes the shape of a jellyfish distorted. The jellyfish has a lot of symbolism in regards to memory or memories. March 7th even referring to this as the mythos of Amphoreus. She has question mark earrings, even taking the shape of a jellyfish in this simulation, and Mythus directly counters erudition. If Mythus was to play a part in Amphoreus' story, it would make sense for this eon to do so in a very backhanded way. It kind of fits the theme of Mythus' whole gimmick, being born from that eon, but also the concept of the enigmatic directly parallels with memory, because Mythus' whole purpose is to shroud the universe in uncertainty, misguide and mislead people, tell half-truths, give half the equation. This can also be true for memory as well, since Mythus kind of represents the corruption of the mind. What's worse than forgetting something, not having those memories stored for fully, having the wrong memories or incorrect ones? Now, I can't sit here and pretend to tell you I know what's going to happen with Amphoreus. They've done a really good job with this story, and it's really hard to pinpoint how this is going to unfold. But one thing I do know is it's going to have a huge impact on the rest of the story. It's going to change the way we perceive the universe and how Honkai Star Rail's universe functions. You probably noticed in 3.5 there's all these talks about leaving the cave, the circle of knowledge, creating a knowledge singularity, expanding that circle. We have the first ever genius member here, the guy that created News of Erudition, trying to destroy his own creation. I've also been loving your comments on my last video because nobody can agree or disagree if Xandar's actually right. Maybe he's going about it the wrong way, but I do think he has a lot of strong points. But regardless of that, one of these eons has to come out on top. And although I can't say for sure how this story is going to unfold, I think the significance of Amphoreus is it's going to change the circle of knowledge forever. This whole story by the end of it's going to reveal something insane, something we did not know about the eons before, and maybe even the emanators. I genuinely feel like Xandar 1 Kuwabara, whether he succeeds in Iron Tomb or not, has created a scenario in Amphoreus where some form of knowledge singularity is going to take place, no matter what. In no way, shape, or form can I see Mythus not showing up here at some point if this is about to happen, especially if the remembrance is here as well. And just going by all the visual cues, it makes sense for March 7th to have at least some ties to Mythus. But can she be tied to more than one eon at the same time? I mean, it's possible. She's the mascot of the game, and we, the Trailblazer, are also connected to more than one eon along with the Lord Ravagers. So it's definitely possible that March 7th could also be connected to the Veracity, since there's obviously a lot of visual cues for that as well. Veracity means gluttony, and we don't really know much about the Leviathans or this path. But the whole concept of being a bottomless pit and consuming everything also fits very well with memories, consuming people's memories, identities. In the trailer we had that visual cue of March 7th actually eating Amphoreus. This could be symbolic of eating the story, consuming all the memory for herself. And just listen to the description of Veracity: the drinker of worlds, the unsatisfied devourer, an endless black hole. In the eyes of Ouroboros, life is flickering, fragment floating in the sea of void, destined to return to the darkness along with the stars. This darkness is within the depths of their mouths, so they outright refer to this eon as the drinker of worlds, and the endless darkness in the depths of their mouths. Her name is Evernight. Forever Night, I don't know. There's obviously connections to multiple eons here, and it seems pretty deliberate. Both can be true, both can be connected to the remembrance and memories, consuming memories, forgetting memories. She could have ties to one or the other or both, and both would equally make sense. As for Evernight's direct connection with Fully, well, that's a little bit harder to explain. Each eon has problematic followers that are extremely powerful. Erudition has a lot of good geniuses that help the universe, but has some bad ones as well. Erudition doesn't discriminate because erudition is just erudition. The same can be said for Fully. There are good memo keepers, the ones that do their job for the Garden of Recollection, but it certainly seems like this Evernight, or whoever March 7th was before, received a full-on lobotomy, ditching her body in some ice somewhere, and it might even be a hilarious coincidence that we even stumbled upon it with the Astral Express. March 7th being an empty husk in that body, starting from scratch, turning into the March 7th that we know today. Meaning that this Evernight and whoever she was before could have been a very powerful individual connected to the remembrance. It also seems clear as day now that this person is who the Titan of Time was referring to as Mother, but mistaken March 7th as Mother because they're the same person. She has full manipulation and powers over time. She's able to hide outside Eligas's gaze and control through the power of time, finding little pockets of time to hide out in. That's how she was able to give us the world-bearing core flame, the one Lygas was looking for the entire last cycle. And weirdly enough, Evernight's always nice to us. She doesn't try to confuse us. She doesn't lie to us or try to misguide us. She was upfront with us and Dong Hung. She doesn't try to pretend to be the March that we know to throw us off. She also knows that Amphoreus is running out of time, telling us that she's the one that got us out of Lygas's prison. But it unexpectedly attracted some small fries of the remembrance looking to exploit a situation. So it's pretty obvious that Evernight isn't aligned completely with the Garden or any of the followers of Fully. They all have their own agendas at the end of the day. Again, just like the geniuses, they're not all on the same page, just because they're all geniuses. We also know on the Law Fu, they can somewhat predict the future and read people's past in divination. And when they did this with March 7th, they speculate that an eon sealed her memories away. But not necessarily fully. Your lost memories, they're crucial to the Garden of Recollection. Their very existence hangs on your memories. In time, you'll understand that your path and the remembrance are closely intertwined. Then, if you recall back when we first entered Amphoreus back in 3.0, a memo snatcher tries to steal Herda's memories and tries to use Herda to actually peer into News's memories. Herda catches them red-handed, and in a very desperate attempt to convince Herta to let her go. She's willing to spill the secrets on what the Remembrance is doing, what their plans are. It's easy to forget this sinister act of the Remembrance back in 3.0, since we knew almost nothing at that point. Herta herself even calling them out for trying to steal News's memories itself. And that could at the end of the day be how Fully tries to defeat Nanook and News. From what we talked about, it seemed like Evernight was a very dangerous individual connected to the Remembrance, having to erase her memory and then trap March 7th in some ice. I really don't think March 7th was meant to ever regain her memories. I think it's pretty obvious that she's a dangerous individual, but how exactly is her memory so important to the Remembrance in the Garden of Recollection? And if that's the case, who imprisoned her in ice? Because that's something Memo Keepers do, they abandon their mortal bodies. Something just doesn't seem to be adding up here. My gut tells me that March 7th is going to be the one that counters the Remembrance in 3.6. If you think about it, 3.4 was the Destruction fighting against the Destruction, Phynon. Standing up to Nanook, even tried to punch him in the face. In 3.5, it was Erudition countering Erudition. Herta and Skrullum combating Lygus, uncovering his true identity as Xandar. I know I already mentioned this before in my last video, but I really don't think they're gonna leave March 7th in this Evernight form. I think she'll go back to the way she was. This version of March with her memories back also isn't sinister. She's different, she's a bit off-putting, but she's never done anything backhanded, anything that warrants us not to trust her, at least not in the meantime, and she genuinely does seem to care about the well-being of Amphoreus, whereas the eons mean to destroy and kill each other gain the upper hand. I think the endgame here and the ultimate goal is to remove all the paths from Amphoreus, allowing this world to become real, instead of just a simulation within a scepter. Every time we start using one path to defy another, it ends with the balance of power shifting, and us having to fight the same path that we just relied on. And do the math, the next step is Remembrance, that's the one we're gonna have to fight next. And that's pretty much what Xandar was trying to tell us, like, you idiots. You don't see the Remembrance seeing an opportunity here? But if March 7th's forgotten memories are so important to Fully, why would she be abandoned in some ice? We know all Memo Keepers and followers of the Remembrance abandon their mortal bodies, and they do so willingly, but it doesn't feel like this happened naturally for March. It feels forced, like it's this huge conspiracy. But I think the Memo Keepers in the Garden are up to something, and I think March 7th is their biggest threat. Was March 7th maybe a loyal, powerful follower of the Remembrance, but the Garden of Recollection or some members in that group had their own plans? So they dealt with March at the time, erasing her memories, doing anything they can to make sure she doesn't regain them. Maybe March 7th was a powerful cremator or memo snatcher in her own right, maybe an emanator level power. We don't know who March 7th was before. Maybe she was a follower of the Veracity and then became a Memo Keeper and then transitioned into whatever she is now, still giving her characteristics of the Veracity and her mass hunger for more memories, having a bottomless pit of an appetite for memories to consume, making her a danger to the garden. Hence why they abandon her in some ice. So she could have association with two eons at the same time. Like I said, we've seen this before in-game. Perhaps in her past life, she consumed so many memories. She created a level of uncertainty in the universe, either drawing Mythus of the Enigmata to her or help birthing that eon. You start to see how the Veracity, the Remembrance, and the Enigmata can kind of go hand in hand right now when talking about Evernight. It all kind of fits. One of these could be true or all of these could be true. Again, Xandar refers to the children of Remembrance, not the followers, the Pathstriders, the Emanators, the children. Mythus was born from the Remembrance. Or, there's another possibility. Is it possible that a certain eon doesn't even exist? Like we discussed in the video, Amphoreus is going to be significant for the rest of the story because I think no matter what happens here, a knowledge singularity is going to take place, expanding the circle no matter what. We know a big portion of Honkai Star Rail is learning about the eons, because the thing we know the most about them is we don't know much about them. Their origins, what makes them tick, Xandar talking about the cave and what's beyond the eons. You know, we're all stuck in this cave, Amphoreus is just a smaller version of our universe. What if Mythus of the Enigmata doesn't even exist? You have to admit that would be the most Mythus thing ever. The whole eon's existence is a lie. But in reality, it was just a very powerful rogue member of the Remembrance doing the work of the Enigmata, disguising it as an eon. And that would definitely shatter the circle of knowledge. Maybe Evernight means to keep that secret here. I mean, her real name isn't even Evernight. She just told us that because it was the 3rd month of Amphoreus, the Evernight month. 3.6 is going to be the 7th patch we've had now of Amphoreus. The 3rd month, Evernight, is March. That's the 3rd month in our own real world, hence March 7th. Just a fun little Easter egg for ya. Obviously, Mythus not being real this whole time is me spitballing here, but you gotta admit, March 7th's lost memories contain something monumental. And I don't know about you, but I'm dying to know what she knows. You got the first genius trying to create a Lord Ravager. You got memo snatchers trying to peer into news and steal its memories. How does that even work? All I know is whatever March knows, whatever her past memories are, they're dying to know themselves. She's so important to the Remembrance in the garden, yet what does she know that's so dangerous, or what does she know that they want to know? I am fully aware this is a situation where we could be overthinking it and reading too much into it, but that's the beautiful part about Mythus. This eon is going to enter the game in the main story in such a weird way. The stuff that's taking place on Amphoreus right now is monumental. The erudition is involved, the remembrance is involved, the destruction is involved. There are 3 Genius Society members, one of them being the original creator of news. Under these circumstances, is it even possible that Mythus doesn't show up? That is the primary purpose of this eon. These types of situations, it counters the erudition. How could this eon in some way, shape, or form not be drawn to this place? That's like somebody obsessed with soccer not even tuning into the World Cup at all. Just doesn't add up, along with all the symbolic and visual clues they've given us. That's what kind of got me thinking about this, because back in 3.0, so many people were speculating Mythus' appearance if they'd show up. I just think it would be so funny this whole time. Yeah, they are here. This is Evernight's purpose. Whether they follow this eon or they are this eon. Maybe this eon never existed. It's just a memo keeper, a very powerful one, doing the Enigmata's work. Hence why the Remembrance saw March 7th's past memories as a threat, and felt she had to be dealt with. But these are just some of my thoughts on what I think could potentially happen. Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think's gonna happen with Evernight? Do you think March 7th was a memo snatcher, a cremator? Was she connected to Mythus all along, or did that happen over time, due to her stealing memories? And what is her true agenda in Amphoreus? Does she mean to thwart the plans of all 3 eons, making sure none of them win? If the purpose of Mythus is to stall the universe from learning too many secrets, shrouding everything in mystery so that the universe doesn't enter an early finality, could that be what March 7th used to do and is now continuing to do now that she has her old memories? If you think about it, Xandar created the Eon of Erudition but now views that as a mistake. He's trying to undo what he did wrong. The Eons are all fundamentally flawed and keep humanity and all living things in the circle of knowledge, not letting it expand, gatekeeping knowledge and keeping them all in the cave. If Xandar can be a follower of erudition and even create the Eon of Erudition, viewing that as a mistake now, then why can't Evernight be doing the same thing? Maybe it views fully as a mistake. It means to thwart them. Hence the Remembrance giving birth to the Enigmata. Hope you enjoyed the video though. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.